This is the Big Sci-Fi Podcast, the biggest, most fun podcast in the galaxy. We're Adina, Brian, Cris, and Steve, and we love talking all things science fiction. This is Season 4, but our human adventure is just beginning as we gather around our computer consoles to discuss the science fiction of film, television, and literature. Join us on our quest for fun and fascination as we go where no podcast has gone before. Everyone has permission to come aboard the Big Sci-Fi Podcast, but make sure to find your seat fast because we're taking off in 3, 2, 1, hit it. This podcast is a part of the Trek Geeks Network.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before. These are the words said at the beginning of every episode of TOS. It has also been used in other Star Trek series, episodes, and movies, and has always been the benchmark of what Star Trek was all about. However, it seems that this second season of Strange New Worlds has made that statement more present in each and every episode. We had a musical. We had a crossover episode that included animation. We explored the issues of PTSD. We even had more of the Gorn. It showed that this series isn't afraid to explore strange new worlds of stories and storytelling. Good day from planet Earth. Today, the intrepid voyages of the Big Sci-Fi Podcast will embark on a mission of discovery. We will be reviewing and discussing the second season of Strange New Worlds. But before we begin, let's introduce the crew of the Big Sci-Fi Podcast, and they are, in order, our ship's captain, Brian.
Hey, I wish I would have been doing the while you're doing that intro, but I missed it. It's gone. The moment's passed. I'm sorry.
He still got it in there. That's good. Our ship's science officer, Adina.
Hi, and while you were doing the opener, you did a great job, but I was like, Adina, think of a joke. Adina, think of a joke. I was just trying to think of it. It just begged for some kind of jokey interruption. Couldn't think of one.
I do want to say that nobody interrupted his intro like you guys interrupted mine last week. I just want to say.
This is because these are sacred words. We don't interrupt the sacred words.
Indeed. I bow to that. I bow
Except
down
when
to
we
that.
do. You got something funny to say.
And our ship's counselor, Cris.
Hello, I got to pull, not Captain Kirk, Han Solo's hyperdrive lever in Disney World, and it was amazing. I'm so excited about that.
Wonderful. Did you went on the Millennium Falcon ride?
I did. It was so cool. I was
great.
like a kid. It was a dream come true. I got to pull the lever. That's all I could say.
Did they make you
It's
an engineer?
unbelievable.
You didn't get to be the pilot?
Well, no, I was I don't know. There was like two pilots. There was
Two
like
pilots.
left,
Yep.
Yes, two
like an up and
pilots. There's
down
an
and left
engineer
and
and a
right.
gunner. And
So I was up and down.
yeah.
That's the best way
Oh,
to
you
describe it.
did. You were on the front. You were actually controlling the up and down.
What's that
of
called? The
the-
pitch of the yaw?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay, that's the term.
All right.
The up and the down.
And
Up
me,
and down. Mr. Science all the way.
and me, I'm Steve, the guy in the red shirt that has different reoccurring roles in every episode. So since this is a second season review, if you have not watched Strange New Worlds, shame on you.
Mm.
For that, you will be
Just-
marooned on SETI Alpha 5 until you have seen all 10 episodes. Otherwise, spoiler alert in big red letters. And with that warning out of the way, engage the main viewer.
Okay, wait a second. So
What?
you're saying
This is City
I
of
have the
Abide?
option to just be on SETI Alpha 5 and watch TV all day?
Yeah, but you saw the living conditions. Well, actually,
I don't
living
know.
conditions would make you want to stay indoors.
Actually,
and watch.
If we're sticking to the timeline, City Alpha 5 is actually pretty nice right now. You can
That's true.
survive for another, what is it? 30 years because it's 15 years after original series, which is 15 years after Strange New Worlds.
No.
Long as you have an evacuation plan.
Oh, sorry.
Khan said that it was laid waste like 6 months or so after.
Right. 6 months after we were
but
left
still,
here.
A few years on a paradise with nothing to do but watch TV. I'm in.
Why not? Do it.
We have now come up with a new vacation plan. Big Sci-Fi Podcast vacation plans. Stay on SETI Alpha 5. Enjoy nothing but Khan food.
Did you guys know that they originally cast Khan's children to be in the movie too? I just read this recently.
What?
They actually
Ricardo Montalban's children?
Yeah, in Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, they had actors already cast and everything to play Khan's children in the film.
Okay.
So they decided to leave it out, and I don't remember if it's because it just didn't work out, it looked cheesy, or if they decided, because that was one of the questions, if they've been here this long, where are the children? And so originally they even, I think I saw some stills of them filming the kids in that original scene. So,
but a lot of the crew members were members of his entourage were much younger than he was.
Yeah, that was the weird continuity issue.
What, 25 years that went by or something like that?
Yeah, like 15 years.
So it's very assumed that these were the children that did grow up and become his new gang of.
I don't know.
He doesn't mention it's sketchy. There's a lot of. It's a great movie, but there's a lot of weird logic issues and continuity.
Well, yeah,
which is why we love it. But anyways, I just thought I'd mention that, and I'm happy to hear that you guys didn't know that. I feel smart.
And just when we're talking about Khan, let me just say, remember everybody, Khan now lives in Toronto. You could go to the St. Lawrence Market and get a backpick on a bun.
There you go.
You got to protect him. See, it's on you, Cris, to protect him.
Oh, don't worry. I visit him every week.
Okay,
it's fine.
Good.
We're all good.
Episode 3. We'll get there.
All right. So let us discuss Strange New Worlds, if you don't mind. And I think the number one question I'm going to ask you was, what was your overall review of season 2? We'll start in alphabetical order. We'll go with Adina first.
All right.
Short answer or long answer?
Whatever you feel like saying. It's going to be either an hour episode or a 2-hour episode.
Yeah, well, I'll start off with just 2 thumbs up on this. But I've got, when we get to talking about the comparisons between season 1, that's where I got a lot to say. But for the moment, 2 thumbs up.
All right.
Brian comes next after B.
Yes,
after
right.
A, right?
That's pretty good.
That's right.
B is for Brian.
Yes.
A, B. Yeah, I'm next. Okay.
There you go.
I would say that I enjoyed this season, not as much as season 1, though. Yeah, I think it has some very good moments and very good episodes. But overall, I think I enjoyed season 1 a little bit more. But I would also say there's probably 2 or 3 episodes I like in this season that I would put above many episodes in season 1 too. So
very good. Cris.
And
C is for cookie. Did you know that?
C is for cookie, but fun fact with the letter C, it actually comes after A and B. So I'll say this. Sorry, I'm going to resist. But I'm of the similar mind where I really, really liked season 2. Not quite as much as season 1, because I thought season 1 was like almost perfect. But season 2, for the most part, I think was a lot stronger than a lot of the other series that we've gotten in Trek so far. So even though it's not quite as strong as season 1, it's still up there in like some of the best Trek we've seen in the last 10 years or so.
I think that's a fair I think I can agree with that. Get behind that. And by the way, C is for Canada.
Yes, that's also true.
That's right. That's right. Thank you for bringing that up, Brian. And for me, I love season 2. I think it's giving me very much conniption fits of deciding, is it one of the best seasons that I've enjoyed of Trek, only because of its innovation and their attempt to try new things and try different things that in most cases worked out exceptionally well. So I guess it answers the second question. Was this as good or worse or better than season 1? And I think the consensus here is that yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you all agree that there is, yes, there are certain segments of it that were better than season 1, but season 1 had its own special qualities as well.
Yeah, I love I love the thinking outside the box they did
Mm-hmm.
with
Mhm.
season 2. Like I just bravo and my hats off to the producers and creators and
Mhm.
people that had the power to make these decisions, and then the people that implemented them.
Yeah.
From the writers to the special effects to the music to the actors to everybody. It's very well done. And I love the out of the box. I think they had to think out of the box,
Mhm.
honestly, because I think the two biggies in science fiction entertainment, Star Wars and Star Trek, are both facing that right now. They have to think outside of the box to keep people coming back. Like there's risk taking that has to happen. And I agree with you, Steve. I think that for the most part, the risks they took this season paid off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. They have to take risks, but yet still hold that true feeling to their
Yes.
franchise, to their
Which is
respective
so hard.
franchises.
It's got to
Oh
be
yeah,
hard.
yes.
Yeah.
But I think it's so cool because one of the things I don't think that Trek gets enough love for is that even though all Star Trek is Star Trek, you can do so many different genres within it. You can have a legal drama, you can have a whodunit, you can have a horror
Yeah,
movie,
that's
a
a great
musical
point.
now. So it's just like so great to see that, but taking it to the next level where it really is so different than what we've seen before.
And that is very true. And that's what made this season, why I keep going, Strange New Worlds of Star Trek. They did
Exactly.
try different things. But again, since this is a storyline that's in between Enterprise and TOS, that it has to fit in there. Yes, there is technological differences, there's uniform differences, things like that. But because it's in between, they can have this, and then it can evolve into what became TOS.
Oh, it's in between, but it's really close to TOS.
Only 10 years.
Yeah.
It's only supposed to be 10 years before.
And we've already seen how many characters that we know. Like, and then the last episode they just introduced, the next one.
Can I
go ahead,
share make my big confession that I'm sure no one's going to hear this. Like, it's not like we're recording this or anything. This is not going to go out to the world. So I'm sharing this.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Friends.
This is supposed to go out to the world. We're supposed to be.
Oh no, it's not. No,
famous.
It's all good. So I think it. Like, I'm going to blame being very tired because I was not able to watch the episode on my vacation because even though it's an American show, I couldn't watch it in Florida because of the VPN stuff. So I was trying to sort that out. And I didn't have enough time. So I was able to watch it last night and this morning. And the problem is last night I was very tired. And so I was really embarrassing because it took me way too long for me to realize, oh, that's Scotty. They had to say Scotty. And I'm like, what's going on? How can I not tell? It's a dude with a Scottish accent in a red uniform. Why did it take me so long to realize, or why did they have to say, oh, my name is Scotty for me to go, oh, that's Scotty?
Mm-hmm.
That was just really embarrassing. That was my thing. And I've been trying to figure that out all day.
Well, I mean, did you figure it out the first time he mentioned his name after they were speaking for about a minute?
Well, when he says his name is Scotty, I was like, okay, that's Scotty. But I don't know why it didn't jump in immediately. I was thinking like, okay, who is this random guy as I was like nodding off.
Mm-hmm.
And then
it wasn't I'm Scotty. It's, I'm Lieutenant Junior Grade Montgomery Scott. That was his first introduction.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So Scotty came later. Scotty came later.
Yeah, Montgomery Scott though. Like, yes, he didn't say he was Scott, but he said Montgomery Scott. So okay, it's Scotty. But I didn't realize it took me too long.
I mean, it was only a minute or so in.
It's still kind of embarrassing. I'm like, with my Trek credit, I'm like, I gotta know. It's like, oh, that must be Scotty, but
well,
he had to come out and say it.
Obviously look like Scotty, but you know what I found interesting? I really felt like we should look up the actor's name because we're talking so much about him now because I think he deserves credit because I think he did a fantastic job.
He's
he's got a great accent.
Scotty.
But I think he patterned the way he talks more after
Simon Pegg?
Yeah, I think he patterned it more after Simon Pegg's take than he did. Yeah, James Doohan's. I hear more of Simon Pegg's version, and I like it. I think it's great. You know?
So two things. One, thank you for backing me up. I appreciate it. That's going to be laughed at, so I appreciate the support. But about the accent, it almost seemed like it was, as I need to go back and like listen to Scotty's accent, but that was never like a realistic Scottish accent. That's what I've always heard from people.
Okay.
And so the fact that this accent is actually Scottish, it threw me off because it sounds
Scottish.
There you go.
Yeah,
thank
the
you,
actor
Adina.
They
wanted to have an actual Scottish actor to play the role so that the accent was legit. Even though James Doohan did a great job.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, we loved did we not love the Russian accent either from oh my gosh,
Walter Koenig.
Sorry, Mr. Koenig. Please keep living and living and living.
He's doing well.
But I think we love the cheese of it too. And I think even in this gentleman's accent, he's still putting in some of the emphasis that James Doohan did. You know, like they still have to maintain some of that cheese in it too, I think.
I mean, I love Simon Pegg and I love the casting of the J.J. Abrams. Like, I think they did a great job with casting, but I think Martin Quinn, this guy, is a better young Scotty versus Simon Pegg. This guy channels, Jimmy Doohan.
I feel like, and I love how Simon Pegg portrayed him. He did great. I loved. He was definitely a big part of the humor in the JJ films.
Yes.
And loved it. Loved almost all of his scenes. I would love to talk to him and express that to him.
Simon, but we'd like to have you on our show.
Yeah,
come on.
He didn't really look like. There wasn't a resemblance, as you could kind of see Chris Pine. You could see a resemblance with Kirk, Spock. They definitely tried to make look like her, all those things. So,
well,
I digress. Though it's not. It's
also Simon Pegg. Simon, the character of Montgomery Scott that Simon Pegg played. In the alternate universe, he was older than this kid is. So more mature, and also had taken a different, less savory path through Starfleet. He's kind of
true.
He was kind of a,
that multi-universe thing just throws me off.
Yeah. So it's Montgomery Scott if he gave the finger basically to anyone who gave direction, kind of. So you know what I mean? It was a different. He was relegated. He's still just as smart. He's that, but he's different path in life, not the Boy Scout thing. And the same thing with Kirk and stuff too.
Yeah.
But it sounds like that, like, because he was still around in Enterprise's time, in Archer's time, so it sounds like he was a prime. Like his diversion didn't really start until right? Because wasn't he? Yeah, because he has that whole line about, I was transporting Archer's dog.
Remember this? But this was not Porthos. It could have been definitely one of its many generations, because it seems like he sent the Admiral's dog. Boom.
Yeah.
And actually, in the book, and at the end of the book, Porthos does, or this beagle does reappear out of the transporter.
So that's where it gets tricky, because like they all exist in the Prime universe, but then their timelines change when the intersection happens. But
correct.
But that's a whole other topic. So what I'll say about
let's stay with Strange New Worlds.
Well,
for sure.
Can we talk about Strange New Worlds in the Prime universe and stuff? Because I'm dying to say something. I'm dying.
Go ahead. No,
I got
please,
one Scotty comment.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just going to say about Simon Pegg, he played Scotty more comedically, where Scotty was always funny, but he didn't play him as a comedic character. He just had funny moments, where I feel like this Scotty is more like that, where it's like he's a serious character with slightly funny dialogue, maybe, but he didn't play him like Simon Pegg, where it was like played more for humor, because Simon Pegg is a comedic actor.
Yes.
So I think maybe that's also why this new Scotty seemed more like regular Scotty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, can I?
Okay, Adina, you have the floor. Please, you have the floor.
Because you mentioned Prime Universe and stuff, and I'm struggling with something here. Okay, so what I did in preparation for tonight, for recording this today, is I didn't just rewatch season 2. I rewatched season 1 and season 2 all together, strung it all together.
20 episodes. Wow.
And then I went and watched the original series episode Arena.
Okay.
And I've got two totally different observations. Number one is just when I think about, because when we started watching season 2, I was a little up and down on the first couple episodes. Like they had their moments, I kind of liked them, but I was struggling compared to season 1. When I watched them all together, it seemed way more seamless. And it didn't seem as disconnected or something. It seemed great, like the whole thing. And it occurred to me, we're used to, I don't know if the word used to is right, but back in the TNG era,
the good old days,
seasons were 20-something episodes long. I don't think this show, an episodic show like this, is meant to be only 10 episodes.
So what you're saying is you are going to start a writing campaign to ask for at least a 20-episode season.
I am the new Bajo Tribble.
But so you're saying that it felt like season 1, like if, like,
it's
just like all one season.
Yes, and I liked it, and that was great.
Yeah, it's cool
because you dropped off the end of season 1, dovetailed right into season 2,
and it felt much more continuous.
And then season 2, episode 2. Concluded the issues established in the end of season 1 and into the beginning of season 2. So you're right.
Yeah.
And that's good.
It's much better.
If it just doesn't, you don't see the continuity from one season cliffhanger to the next.
Right. Well, because it wasn't entirely the same kind of cliffhanger like what we've been faced with now at the end of season, which I want to mention.
Yeah.
But I think, 10 episodes work for something like Picard, where that 10 episode season is that a full arc. It's not episodic, it is an arc. And so, an arc for 10 episodes. But this, where we're back to episodic thing with kind of little arcs in the background that you need to resolve, 20 episodes makes way more sense.
Yes. Yeah. I agree. I mean, that's one of my still complaints about this series, and it's not a problem, is that it's too short. But I think because of production costs,
I get that.
That might be the reason why they're just sticking to 10 episodes,
right? But I feel like they're losing something by doing that. And now I'm very upset about this cliffhanger, because back in the day, when we had Next Generation, whatever, if they did a cliffhanger the way a true end of season cliffhanger with to be continued, we knew all we had to do was wait a summer.
Yes.
For the resolution.
Yes.
In this current climate, we're going to be waiting a year or more for that. And that is,
I don't believe that.
That's right. No,
well,
we are.
Because of the strike,
I know you don't believe it, but that's true. But that's how these seasons go. It's going to be a year or more. And that's like, I don't, it really loses something like that.
Adina, write it up. We'll get your first 3 signatures right here.
Okay.
And let's put this on our Facebook page. Let's spread it all around to all the other Star Trek pages we're all a part of and groups we're a part of. And let's see if we can get something going.
But you know what we need to do? We need to do an old school letter writing campaign, not one of these online petition.
Right.
Blah, 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 blah.
No.
It's just a list of names. Who cares? We need bags of mail, a la Miracle on 34th Street, to show up on people's desks.
Season 2 of TOS. Let's flood them like they did.
Yeah, I think Adina, what you're saying about if this was 20 episodes altogether, this feels much better for me. That makes that makes season 2 pop a little more for me, actually.
Yes.
Thinking of season 1 and 2 as one whole combined season, really is like, oh, well, yeah,
it was great.
Okay.
It was so seamless. It was wonderful, and the whole thing was just so wonderful, like all the way through.
Which again, kudos to the creators, kudos to the producers and the people directing and acting and everything behind the scenes. It's fantastic.
There's one
The
exception.
Prime.
Except
Now, and then, Adina,
wait
you were
a
saying
minute.
something about Arena.
So then I had this thought after watching all the gore and stuff. I was like, it's been a while since I've seen the old episode Arena, and I couldn't remember the details of when Kirk was faced with the Gorn. And so that's the first time, we meet the Gorn. What did they know? Did they know whatever, like how was it introduced and everything? And now that I saw that, I'm completely miserable because what we're seeing in Strange New Worlds is Kirk, Spock, and Scotty, Uhura, 4 people who are in that episode of the Arena all had very direct personal experiences with the Gorn. And in the episode Arena, nope, none of that. They're meeting them for the first time.
They're
He
sitting.
said the same thing in his review.
Yeah.
And so now
Who's
I'm
going to be on
like,
the podcast?
I don't know what to do in my head. I have to think of, because I was up until then, I've felt that the creators of Strange New Worlds have been trying to really stick with continuity as best they could.
Interesting.
And now I'm not so sure, and it's hurt, and I'm like, and I liked that. And now I'm like, crap. To resolve this, if it isn't a multiverse thing, which again, I know in general the franchise we're accepting multiverse, but I really thought this was going to be continuous, but this really breaks that continuity, like really seriously breaks that continuity.
Yeah. It's tough. Like the only way that you can think about it is the fact that even in the show, they seem to forget their own continuity. They never seem to remember what they like. That's the only way you can.
You've got 4
it's hard.
people on the bridge
so hard.
who who were pretty much at the same event, at least, went to the same events. And they're all like, yeah, we've never seen this ship before. Gorn, we've never heard of the Gorn before. Like,
do they specifically say they've never heard of them before? Well, or do they just not mention that they've seen them before?
No. So in the episode of Arena, it starts out, they're basically drawn to a planet that has like a colony on, has a human colony on it. Right?
And the baseball city.
When they go down, when they go down, see that they were destroyed and they're getting attacked. And then they realize there's a ship in orbit and they don't recognize the ship. No one recognizes the ship. No, like they don't know who attacked it. They don't know who did it. So when Kirk and them get back up to the ship, they start chasing the ship. No idea who these folks are. And it wasn't till the Metrons, those other aliens brought the Gorn guy and Kirk, plopped them on the planet. And the Metrons were the first ones to say, hey, so you've been, you and the Gorn, or you guys are too violent for us. So we're going to make you fight. You're violent, but we're going to make you be violent.
I forgot about that aspect.
Right.
The surrogate battle.
Right. So the Metrons are the ones who first said Gorn. And then when Kirk's down the planet, he's got like a little recording device to talk into. So this is where you can get some exposition in. And he's saying, well, it seems like, this lizard creature, and I really am not strong enough, and I can't really tell what to do. And I guess I got to make a weapon. And there's nothing in this episode alludes to there having been anything previous.
Plus, they've turned the Gorn, I'm sorry to say, kids, they turned the Gorn into alien.
Yeah.
Because
that's okay. I don't mind that.
Scary.
But in Arena, now again, because of the production costs at that time, would they could afford a rubber suit with a monster head on it, or lizard head on it? I would have been happier if they were more humanoid like.
You mean more like Enterprise, right? Like where we saw the Gorn in that.
Yeah, very briefly in
human.
that.
Really?
Yeah, they were more human like.
I don't remember that.
They were in the Mirror Universe when like angry evil Captain Archer goes over and they beam aboard the Defiant.
I'll have to rewatch that.
Yeah. Good episode. Such a classic. I love it.
So again, I just they turn them into just animals as opposed to very intelligent creatures that have the ability to create, advanced starships, warp drive, transporters, all these things. But still, their young act like, deranged animals.
But,
even the adult. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm okay with the young being very different from anything that we have an analog for, because I think that's what makes it interesting science fiction. The adults clearly, again, they've got starships, and we saw the one in that last episode poking at the computers trying to figure out how to get in. So no, I'm okay with there being they're truly alien to us, and I'm cool with that. I'm just struggling with the break in continuity.
Like how come nobody? You mean like nobody remembers? They didn't mention they were all on the ship together. Kirk wasn't part of that, but still.
And so I understand. We can't go back and change Arena.
Okay?
No, I get that. So I wish that the creators of this went into this, I don't know, with a better plan, or maybe like, again,
or just not use the Gorn.
Not use the Gorn. Yeah.
Make it I don't know. That's a good point. It was okay tough. When it was, La'an's story.
Right, because then
that was fine.
It was possible that you could say there was this one ship attack, one place, and maybe information, and not enough information got out, so they don't really know. So so in season 1, in the original, the first half, I'm going to call it, the first half of season 1 or season 1A. In that first part, it didn't bother me. It's now bothering me in this last episode, because now I'm just like, this, I feel like, completely destroys that continuity.
Right. The only way they can get around this is if they classify it like they did with the Mirror Universe. But even that seems like a really stupid cop-out. Like, why would they classify the Gorn if they're causing trouble?
Here's the thing. Here's the only problem with that, because I thought about that. But you've got now so in the Arena, you have still 4 people who know, and they know each other knows, right? So what you do, and I say, when classified people know who has classified information, you go into a secure area and you talk about it. So I feel like that. So I thought about the classified thing, but I don't think that could work. The only thing I think can save this but this is so hokey. You have some kind of like Q intervention mind wipe, mind and data wipe by some the Metron. Maybe even the Metrons
could come back.
Who knows? Hey, that's a good point.
Because you don't want Q, but the Metrons, and maybe that's it. The Metron, and so wait, this solves it. The Metrons do that. So when the Metrons encounter them in Arena, it's really more like, gosh darn it, these people, they continue to fight. Well, we're gonna make them do it again. Yes. Oh my God, that solves everything.
You just solved the problem.
So, we need to contact the folks at
who do we know? Can you call
Strange New Worlds Incorporated?
Maybe they've already dealt. I mean, they were ready to film the start of season 3, so they've done something.
Can you
call it Frakes and see if he can?
You know what I'm outraged
go talk to the producers?
What's that, Brian?
Please. If there's something in this season that frustrated me to no end, the Gorn. I'm fine with the Gorn, folks. Adina's not. That's okay. I'm perfect. I slept totally fine at night with this whole Gorn. I didn't think about it like she did. I'm fine with the Gorn. It's different. Okay. What I'm upset about this season is that we did not get nearly enough Erica or Tegan.
Oh my God, that's another
Melissa
thing.
Navia. We need
good.
more. I loved every second. She has some great scenes. She is such good she is such good. She is so good at line delivery and being that little spark of humor and whatever. I kept looking for more of her. I mean, we got more Hemmer almost in the one episode. Than we do Ortegas. And so
heck, we know more about Pelia.
Yeah,
Carol Kane's character. We know more about her.
I hope she and Guinan are buddies. Like, I hope she hit up Guinan's bar at some point on Earth.
No, I'm 100% with you, because every other main character, we know at least something about them or their family or where they're from or we know, or about another relationship. Something, and we know, so I'm totally with you, Brian. We know Zippo on Erica,
so
and that's frustrating.
Since we're talking about characters, one question I had was, there were new characters introduced or reappeared from the last season that were not reoccurring. Was there a favorite?
Oh my goodness.
That were not reoccurring.
They were not reoccurring the previous season, but they are now.
I gotta say,
I mean, who are you talking about besides Kirk?
I gotta say, I love Captain Kirk in this series. I love the episode Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a brilliant episode, a lot of fun, touching, heartwarming, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how they're doing Captain Kirk in this series.
And I love him and
Lieutenant
Sam.
Kirk. He's Lieutenant
now, isn't Lieutenant he? Kirk. But him and Sam are great. Like that whole conversation around their dad and like them sort of competing with each other. That's
love
all
Sam
perfect.
Kirk.
Because we didn't have any of that in the original series. So there was like nothing really about his dad. So I thought that was a really nice touch to
While I like it, I'm still like, this is too much. Like we know Kirk as a character. He's a pretty well developed character. We have other characters to develop here.
Yeah.
And while I really did like Tomorrow, and actually I think when the four of us were talking offline at one point, I mentioned how I thought that Lon fell for him a little too quickly. In my rewatch, I think I'm changing my mind a little bit because when I rewatched it, it's like all they actually did was kiss.
Yeah.
And then when I thought about that, I'm like, okay. But I think the reason I thought more was because in the Subspace Rhapsody, she's imagining more. That imagining more didn't actually happen.
Yes, the whole
because it was just
of her
one
under
kiss,
the covers. She's
I think I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and you know that's we have the William Shatner Kirk, and we have the Chris Pine Kirk. But to me, this actor Paul Wesley, his version of Kirk is so endearing and so likable.
Yeah.
That whenever he's on scene, there's something about him that you go, I like this guy. And he's not bombastic and he's not over the top. He's, that was the one thing when Chris Pine was given the role, he said, I'm not going to try to channel William Shatner. And this guy has gone further away from that, but he's established his own identity and the way that he delivers. He's a likable guy. So, and also Carol Kane's character is adorable. I don't think she's going to survive because if they brought in Scotty now.
Well, here's the thing with her character. Like, so I like Carol Kane. I like the concept of her character, but I don't feel like her character's really been delivering as much as should. I like though that last little bit of interaction between her and Scotty.
Yeah,
I think that can only help her.
That was very interesting.
Yeah,
yes.
I do think this is kind of a veiled or unveiled attempt at bringing in a Guinan type character into the show, which Whoopi Goldberg came and went throughout Next Gen, even in the films, and then in Picard too, which was fabulous. Oh, that was so great seeing her again in that role. But I think this is an attempt to do a Guinan type character, and again, maybe season 3 we'll get an episode or two more where she gets some more meat. I thought her introduction was that in Tomorrow and Tomorrow.
Well, no, we met her before.
In the first episode.
But then we learned about her
in Tomorrow and Tomorrow.
Right, because she came in at the last episode.
That's right.
Or so, kind of like the last episode where she came in to replace Hammer.
Yeah.
And then she has been kind of like in there. She's been very sporadic. She's not she wasn't like the chief engineer in all these other series where it's a main character. Yeah. She was kind of a supporting character.
Except for Discovery, which is a whole other issue with I can't think of her name. She's a really great chief engineer. She's a comedian. She was chewing licorice.
Tig
Notaro, which was great, but so underutilized. So I feel like they're making the same kind of mistake where you have this really compelling character, and she's not being utilized enough.
I'm going to say something. Of
course, there's Una.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say a little something, a little gender-ish. Maybe the people writing don't know how to write a female engineer and haven't been able to since B'Elanna Torres.
That's possible. I mean, there hasn't really been a female engineer since B'Elanna, who's had like significant storylines and dialogue.
And even her character, I would say there were some times that didn't feel right sometimes either.
Oh,
I think there was real struggle.
Okay.
Yeah,
much better than this, but
I think that's like just a Voyager issue, to be honest.
Yeah,
like
yes. I would say right. Any
of
those issues were that, but I feel like here with Tig and now with Carol Kane, they might just be struggling writing a believable, because now. So again,
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it seems like
okay. Go
I
ahead,
haven't
Chris.
disagreed this much with Adina in a long time.
I was going to say, but it seemed like this is like an issue with Strange New Worlds where they create such amazing characters, but then they underdevelop them. Like, of course, you have Ortega, and then you have Una. And I think she got a little bit more stuff this season, but still not enough. And then even Pike, I think, Adina, you were mentioning that a lot too, that Pike was sort of underused this season.
Well, he had to be away from the series for a period of time.
But it didn't feel as bad when you put the two seasons together into one big season. Then it really didn't feel that bad.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we've talked about a little bit about new reoccurring or appearing characters of the regulars on the series, who do you think stood out in your mind?
Oh, I feel like that's
in
easy.
The season.
I feel like this is almost like Uhura's story, just in general.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Really?
I do.
Oh, I disagree again.
See, it's hard for me. Like I want to say Pike because he's amazing, but Chapel is also just so good, and she's like a fully functional, real character, which I love. And I care about her, and she's but Spock is also so great. So it's really hard to say.
Yeah. I think you've brought a good point that each one of the characters, except for poor the helmsman, they've all really had standout moments in the series. The second episode was purely about number one and how she had defense and then the rights of individuals. And that was really, what Star Trek was all about. And I have to say, amongst the singers in Subspace Rhapsody, she had a remarkable voice, even though the actress who plays La'an and the one who plays Aurora, these are professional singers who have recorded and been on Broadway and so on. But she came off as really, really good. And I have to say, the one scene with her and Kirk dancing and singing,
that was cute.
It was almost like I was watching Mary Poppins. It was like that could have been Julie Andrews, that could have been Dick Van Dyke. They had such good chemistry in that little scene, and it was her, or in the scene where she is with Lana and she's discussing with her in song. She came off really well.
That song. So she has a great voice. I will not argue with that. But that song.
What are we talking about again?
Are we talking about Chapel or Una? Sorry, not Una.
Well, now we're talking about Una.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when Una did that song where she's singing to La'an about keeping secrets and telling whatever, that was probably my least favorite song in the episode, just because it felt slow, and I didn't understand why did she turn off gravity for a minute?
There's a rule in musical writing, though, Adina.
Yeah.
In every single musical ever written, produced, performed, whether it's for television or the stage, there is a slow dragging part.
Oh, that was the slow dragging part for me.
I'm telling you, you name a musical, let me watch it. I'll find the slow dragging part that you could take it out of the film, out of the story, and everybody would say thank you because now we can move along. Guys and Dolls has several slow dragging moving parts that when you watch it on the classic film with Sinatra and Marlon Brando and all those guys, slow moving parts and songs that are just like, come on, let's get on to the next great number.
It was that,
and
song
I think that's the same. Yeah, I think it's the same for this. There's just, it's inevitable. I don't know if it's intentional, but I just think it's hard to write that many really great songs.
Yeah.
But it was a good
Sure.
conversation, though. Like, regardless of the song, I
it
like
moved,
the
it progressed.
the
the song.
development and the
Yes.
characters.
But I feel like, yes, that could have been compressed into 2 or 3 lines of dialogue and then move on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
why,
but they
why,
had to have
why
the-
did they
the-
turn off gravity? Why did she turn
So-
off gravity?
so they
because
can
they were
float
like-
together.
Why?
Yes.
Because it's fun sometimes when you're having an emotional moment, you need to float.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Remember this?
believe I can fly.
They always say that
I
in Star
just,
Trek.
that's what it is. It's the Batman moment. But so, Steve, to answer your question, for me, there were 2 standouts from our main characters, and there were several, but these are my 2 favorite. I mentioned Loving Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow.
Mhm.
Christina Chong was superb
Oh.
in that episode. She carried that episode. And I think she had some other really fantastic moments this season and season 1. But then my other favorite, just as far as how they got to come out and just show us a different side of them, is Dr. Mbega, played by Babs Alusunmakun. I mean, he had some moments this season
Yes.
that
very
riveting.
powerful.
I mean, he had a
yeah.
whole episode dealing with PTSD that was just, but it just, so for me, those 2 are my standouts. But again, I gotta say, I love the charades episode. I love when Spock had to, he was fully human for a time.
That was so much fun.
That was hilarious. That was, and that's the thing about this series, is that it seems like there's a funny episode, lighthearted one. There's a serious one, lighthearted, serious. It wasn't just all serious.
Yeah.
And
Can
it
I
wasn't
ask
all just silly.
Can I ask the group a question, Steve?
Sure, please.
What do you guys think? I don't have this notes in front of me. I assume we're gonna maybe ask what our favorite episode of the season was, but what was our least favorite episode?
But actually, that was one of the questions I had. So let's start off with: is there a least favorite episode amongst us? And Adina, do you have one?
I think I can guess.
Well, are you sure you can guess?
I think so.
Okay, guess.
I'm guessing you're the first, like the premiere was your least favorite episode.
Well,
The Broken Circle?
Rewatching it.
Oh, Broken Circle. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rewatching it, it wasn't, I don't know. It was much better on the rewatch because it felt like it flowed better and it was a good, better in between the end of season 1 or the episode 10 versus episode 12. So, I don't know. It was certainly not my favorite, one, but like, among the Lotus Eaters and Lost in Translation, they were both okay, but I had, they weren't my, I guess it's just more like they weren't my favorite. They were fine. But Lost in Translation, the reason why that one bothered me is, and again, they do things like this in all Trek things because we have a main cast and we focus on the main cast. But come on, you have an ensign who is hallucinating and you're letting her walk around the ship with a phaser to help you search for whatever. Like,
yeah,
I was struggling with how like far that went, where like these intelligent people who are trained to do things, they're letting her walk around with a phaser to help search for stuff. They should be
Dina, I would like to publicly state, because I've disagreed with you so much this episode, I agree with you.
Yay!
That was stupid. That bothered me too in that episode. And I think you just made me choose. I thought my least favorite was among the Lotus Eaters, but I think you just helped me decide that Lost in Translation was my least favorite.
Yeah. But there's so many things I did like about that episode.
Oh, every episode. Yeah. I think every episode this season has a lot to offer, and if you look for it, a lot of charm. They're so well done. Even among the Lotus Eaters, like is a terrifying concept in one way, where you lose your memory and you every morning is new and you got to figure it out. Terrifying concept, but the only reason it worked at all is because of the production value and because of the actors doing such a good job of pulling it off. I found if there was any level of cheese in this season, it was on that episode. Even, I mean, that's where for me it didn't quite work.
Yeah. I mean, it was fine. It was a trick. It was a trick episode, and it still felt like a trick episode. It just wasn't one of the, but yeah, I don't know.
I mean, and also we got to be honest. We have a 10 episode season. What we have a 24, 26 episode season for Next Gen, which we all love and are interested in talking about. Even in the best seasons of our favorite Trek, whether it's Next Gen, if it's Discovery, there's always episodes where we go,
yeah.
It might be time for Sub Rosa though.
But it's easier
because because I've watched so much and I'm like, I'm in the mood for more TNG, but I'm like, have nothing else to watch. I'm like, I guess I got to do Sub Rosa and maybe the Mediator episode with Troy.
To quote them, stay on target, Cris.
Stay on target.
Stay on target. From this season, stay on target. From this season, do you have 1 or 2 episodes since Adina's mentioned 2 and Brian said 2? Is there 2 that, or at least just 1 that you were not impressed with?
Well, it's hard because I like them all, but if I had to pick one, I would say just the first episode. I don't think it was the strongest of the series, but what I did love, like all of it being underwhelming, was worth it to me just to see Spock getting drunk with the Klingons. Like that was brilliant. That part was amazing, but I thought the episode wasn't bad. It just wasn't as strong as the other ones.
Cool.
For me, I agree with you, Adina. Among the Lotus Eaters and Lost in Translation, the problem with Lost One is that you have one particular woman who's hearing voices, and she convinces Pike to convince the Federation to blow up a massive refinery. Now, they could have just shut it down and it wouldn't be doing the damage it was doing.
Well, that was they talked about that in that shutting it down was not good enough. They actually said that in dialogue. I caught that on the rewatch.
I know, but it just seems a little. But the rest of it was, it was strong. I enjoyed the rest of it. It just seemed like the conclusion was a little like, okay.
Well, they also let the ensign send the command to fire torpedoes. Like that again. That was my problem with that episode, was that hallucinating by that time she's not hallucinating anymore, but still that was a little much for an ensign.
See, my issue was it was a little close to the famous Janeway line, "There's coffee in that nebula," from that episode. Because it's another like they just need to go to a nebula to get energy, but then it turns out there's an alien. Well, I'm like, that's been done a lot. Like, still an interesting episode. But the security thing, I just feel like security on starships have always been so lax. Like one of the things I noticed, a issue with the season finale, was that Gorn, who was trying to access the computer, I feel like if I'm entering in a password so many times, it'll just lock me out of the account.
And so it usually does.
Yeah, so I'm just surprised
especially
the Enterprise,
banking ones. Bankings are very secure that way.
The Cayuga computer was like, okay, you can keep entering in your command codes, or we're not going to wipe you out.
Well, it could have been that was already like so disconnected from whatever, since the ship was like in such a state of disarray.
Oh, okay. I'll buy that.
Maybe that was it's just the user interface panel, and there's really nothing happening behind this.
I'll tell you this though, guys. I want to go backwards for just a quick second.
Please do.
Captain Picard, Captain Sisko would have sent Uhura's butt to the sick bay and said, "Don't come out until this is over." Now I like Pike a lot. I like him a lot. But that would have never happened under Picard's
right.
command.
Well,
he would have tried to not let it happen, but she would have gotten out of sick bay anyways.
That would have been better. I would have been fine with her getting out, but the fact that
which people did.
Right.
They left sick bay all the time when they weren't supposed to.
Right. And I'm okay with that. That I can handle that. To some degree I can handle that.
Okay.
But the fact that they were okay with her being out and wandering around, like, I'm sorry, if someone's hallucinating, I don't want them anywhere near with me with a phaser in their hand. That's not good, especially since she punched Kirk. So she's clearly hallucinating in ways that can hurt other people.
Yeah. So I think we're all in agreement.
Yeah,
Those
we've
two
got
episodes.
at least
Yeah.
three.
But
We've got
now
at least
let's channel goodness. What are your top 3 episodes?
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my
If
gosh!
there's
All right.
3, and if you can't do 3, 1 or
Oh, so
2 or
easy.
3,
Yeah.
and just
So
a quick
easy.
reason why. Not it's easy to compliment. Excuse me, it's easy to complain, but it's hard to compliment.
No, it
Can
is
I go
really
first?
easy. This
Can
is
I go
easy.
Go ahead,
first?
Brian. Please do.
We'll
You go
see
ahead.
if it's
Let me
Adina and I.
interrupt you, Brian.
Adina and I have disagreed so much. She's saying it's easy. Now I feel immense pressure.
Okay.
Okay. Does this have to be 3 all the way up to 1, or can I just no particular
Just
order?
no, it doesn't have to be.
Okay.
It can be because
We have-
if you try to pick your like number 1, that's not fair.
Yeah. Okay.
Right,
Thank
just
you.
3
That
that
helps.
you
That
like.
takes the pressure that Adina
Yeah,
placed on me
absolutely.
just now off totally.
No
'Cause I
pressure,
can't
but
do it.
I guess for me, this is the easiest thing ever.
Okay.
Just
Good.
So
easy
we
for
have
me.
yet to talk about the fantastic episode that is Ad Astra Per Aspera.
Oh, that was not where I was going with it.
So that episode was tremendous. Tremendous guest stars in that. That was a riveting episode and a hard-hitting episode. That made me have all the feels like the First Duty in The Next Generation did, where Wesley Crusher gets in trouble for lying with the Academy people.
I just watched that. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite Next Gen episodes. But this one was a superb courtroom drama, just done. You don't have to be a Star Trek fan, and you would enjoy this episode. This is an episode I will tell somebody to watch who's never watched Star Trek before. It's that good. Okay.
Okay.
Also, I loved Under the Cloak of War was an incredibly gut wrenching. I think that's one of the best ones of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna, ladies and gentlemen, it's a toss up. I love Tomorrow and Tomorrow, but I'm gonna say I love that they went for it and they did it well. I'm gonna say Subspace Rhapsody.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Top 3 episode 2.
Adina,
Okay.
how do you stand with your fellow compadre here?
Totally.
More conflict?
Kind of opposite.
Dun, dun,
And not
okay.
say completely opposite, but like my top episode this season, top episode of all 2 seasons, possibly top episode of like any Trek in the last 10 years.
Don't do it.
These
Don't do
old
it.
scientists.
No.
I loved that so freaking much. I mean, like that was just so happy, grinning ear to ear every single second of that episode. And the second time I watched it in the same day, the first time, and then the third and fourth times I've seen it since. I love that episode so much.
Excellent.
And
the others.
So I would say tied for second in that is a combination of Subspace Rhapsody. It's not easy to say.
It's not.
And Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Now, and the thing is Ad Astra Per Aspera, and I liked it a lot. I had no issue. No, I don't think I even had any issues with it, but just, it was cool, but it was, it's a legal drama episode, and it was interesting. It was important. It was cool. It was done well. It fit in with everything, but it wasn't as science fiction-y as where I like I could have been watching Law and Order.
Perry Mason in space.
Yeah.
They're genetically enhanced.
Okay.
They didn't have that on Law and Order.
Hey, we have today. There's legal issues over stem cell research and other things. So, this really isn't that far from reality, possibly. So again, it was a great episode, and I agree. If you're saying, hey, if you've never seen Trek before and you want to watch something, watch the. I'm sure because you don't need to know anything almost to watch that.
Now, I do want to say I want to qualify my frustration with those old scientists. Okay. I'm not a fan of what is the show? What's the show even?
Lower
Decks. Sorry, no disrespect. I just couldn't remember that
Lower
moment.
Decks.
I'm not a fan. I can't get into it. It's okay. I've just chosen not to take the time. Perhaps if I really dove into it, I would like it and appreciate it. But I thought this episode was extremely well done. I was very skeptical, like, how are they going to do this? They did it well. The actors, they played their characters well. It was hilarious. The Riker over the saddle, the Riker, there's
One word,
I
Riker.
laughed my face off in this episode. I felt like there were a few other stronger episodes, so that's why.
Oh, see, that was still my favorite.
Good.
But the one I want to take the issue with is the Under the Cloak of War. Good, incredibly well acted. Mbenga's character was very, 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 very well done. But what I'm struggling with that episode, and I think possibly the concept of the state of therapy at this point, is in the real world, folks knew enough or thought the concept of counseling was important enough in the real world 1980s to put a counselor not just like as a main character on the show and on the bridge. She was part of the bridge crew. So in the real world, they knew this was important enough. And now here, and especially my rewatch of the full 2 seasons, early on, there was some implied stuff that La'an was getting help and therapy for her trauma with the group. So now we've had a war. People know and understand trauma. It's clear that Pike and Una, they recognize their colleagues and friends are having it. Where the heck is the help or the implication that these folks are getting help? I have a really big problem. And the thing is, given how Trek normally tries to illuminate, hey, society, real world society, you need these things. The fact that they are not, they had the perfect episode in which to do something like that.
Right.
And they didn't.
Well, and another thing, Adina, one thing you notice from other series is, starting with TOS, McCoy was the grounding voice of, he would talk reason. He was the one who tried to keep.
I'm not talking about talking reason.
No. Let me finish. And going, well, but you're saying who's the counselor, right?
But yeah, an actual Enterprise, therapeutic counselor, not someone who's just there as a counterbalance for dialogue.
Since this is after TOS, since this is after TNG is after TOS, after Enterprise, and on Enterprise it was, it was Phlox who was the one who kept people grounded, or they could go to and talk to and deal with their situations that they did have. But then it seems like by the time they got to TNG, they said, we need to have a main character who can be the counselor specific to deal not only with the emotions of the crew, but the emotions of other people, to interpret them, to help the captain make decisions on what decisions he should make.
Sure, but she was truly she was a therapist. It was, she was there to help the captain make decisions too, but she was a therapist.
That was her primary job.
That was her job. And the fact that as we learned about her and like her background, like working with Tam Eldrin in Tin Man, she was a therapist.
Yeah.
So the fact that, again, in real world 1980s, they thought it important enough to do that. What the heck has happened where we've kind of taken a step back?
That's
what
true.
I wish they would have done was included a therapist here, even if it's not a main character, just the understanding that therapy is there and available, and possibly make some excuse for why maybe we never saw it in the original series because of the discontinuity. Yeah. I think similar to other discontinuities they've easily solved, I think they could have easily solved this one. But I'm very upset. I'm like legitimately upset, since of course, I know people in real life who struggle with this stuff. And it's important that everyone understands that this is real and people need help. And the fact that Trek did not shine the light on the help aspect and how important and normalizing help is, where I feel like they have in other times in Trek, I'm very disappointed.
Okay.
But see, I'm mixed, because I hear you and I agree they should have had a counselor or a therapist. But I just feel like it's hard to fault them for that, because Voyager could have used a therapist and they never, ever mentioned that. They even have an episode where they're like, legitimately, all of these senior staff, they're all suffering from PTSD for that war they were never even involved in. And that's permanent. It's never going to go away. but they never ever mentioned a therapist or help. Cisco could have used a therapist. They all could have used it.
Yeah.
It's just actually I shouldn't knock DS9 because they did have a counselor.
Mm-hmm.
It just frustrates me that the one counselor character couldn't help Rom. He had to go to the holodeck.
Well, I think too. There's a difference though, and again, I think Adina, you make really strong points, and it was a bit surprising that there wasn't more of a resolution. Here's the help you need altogether, but I think also I think that the other parts of the crew were surprised as well, because sometimes that can rear its ugly head, and you hide it. Well, they didn't. What I wish they would have done is talk about, at least say, hey, there was counseling done at some point.
That alone would help me. Yes, and even little. They don't need an actual character.
Yeah, but just some line of dialogue to say that
it's there, it's available.
But it's just that type of thing, in having that trigger in the Klingon ambassador. I think also there's just the drama it presented, and choosing for whatever reason not to go that route.
And let me ask this question, which is, at the end he kills him. Where's the ramifications of that, since they were trying to bridge a relationship? He kills him, and where is the inquiry? Where is the investigation, the reasoning behind? Would he have been charged with attempted murder for killing someone that important? Would the Klingons just stand back and go, hey, you killed this guy, that's good job?
Wouldn't care.
The Klingons don't care. He defected.
Huh?
Yeah, he's working for the Federation. He defected.
Right. But even so, the Federation then would have investigated it because he was. Yeah.
I think they left it. Yeah,
he really
defect?
I'll have to watch that episode again then.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, there you go.
And again, I think they kind of made the implication that they're all assuming it was self-defense, that the dude attacked Mbenga. And I think that's what they're trying to imply, to basically, protect, him.
Cris, do you have 3?
Yeah,
2 or 1?
3. So I'd say Subspace Rhapsody is number 1 for me.
Okay.
Love that. I love musicals. I think it's one of the funniest lines of Star Trek that people aren't talking about is the fact that, or not lines so much, but just a situation where Lanan has to say to Pike, this is all cute, but this is a security risk because people are revealing their innermost, darkest, deepest thoughts. And I love that. I think that's hysterical. It's like, yes.
You mean like a private conversation? I'm having a private conversation. This is a private conversation.
Exactly.
Oh, what am I doing in front of my crew? I'm having a private conversation. Yes.
And then I'd say,
go ahead.
That was really cute.
These Old Scientists is number 2, and then Charades number 3. I like Tomorrow because, of course, it's Toronto. Loved it. But like those 3 episodes for me, just
even French fries with gravy was talked about.
French fries with gravy,
and he
Canadian money on television. Captain Kirk was holding Canadian money
when he was gambling.
We never get to see that.
I know, that was very good. You're right.
I've never been so excited to see Canada in a Star Trek episode than I was.
And is there really that bridge they blew up? Is that bridge does exist?
I believe so. I feel like I drive past it all the time.
Okay, I was wondering. You see, they were being very accurate about such things, and that was actually very, very good, and I like that. For me, I can't pick a number 1 because these 3 episodes are the ones that I could sit and watch again and again and again. And they are, without a doubt, Subspace Rhapsody, which I watched last Sunday. It just makes me smile.
Yeah.
It's just so enjoyable. And at the end, when they all get in, like, what are we going to do? We need a big finale, kids. Well, that's always like in the big musicals. We need the big finale where everybody sings and everybody dances. And we got to see our old friend Bruce play a Klingon.
That was great.
And I think they covered up his bad eye with that a patch. So it was fun to see him on stage do that. And then going into Korean K-pop. I mean, that was I was surprised. People were surprised by that.
I was expecting Klingon opera. I thought for sure it's going to be Klingon opera.
Yes, this was better. because I was talking to a coworker of mine this morning about that, because the lines that they got to say, because if they went into Klingon opera, that's not necessarily embarrassing. They were, Klingons,
they're very proud of their Klingon opera.
Exactly. But this is embarrassing. So the lines that they got to say at the end of it, like, "Oh my God, this is disgraceful. We will kill you for this disgrace." That wouldn't have worked after the Klingon opera. But this is great.
Also, without a doubt, and I agree, Lost, those old scientists, so daring. It could have gone bad. It was so well done. Sorry, Brian, but I love Lower Decks, and I didn't like it to begin with, and then I watched it again, and I love it, and I think it's hilarious. And the fact that at the end of the episode, or actually, Elaine pointed out, she goes, the opening sequence was all in animation.
Yeah.
Which was really cool. She caught that before I did. And then the very end, they, when they characters from Strange New Worlds, so they're animating like, look at my arm. It does this kind of quizzing. That was very well done. And the two actors that they had playing their voice characters became their real characters. I they always say a lot of times that in animation, they base the drawing of the character on the voice of the actor who plays it. And boy, did they get that right. These guys look great, and they were super. But the one that just, I think, is a remarkable episode is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. My favorite Star Trek episode still to this date is Shuttle Pod 1. And why? Because it's a bottle episode. And this was really a bottle episode. Very low production costs, all shot where they're filming. You think of it, how much special effects went into making this? Very little.
Car chase.
That's
they had driving blow up.
All they had. Well, that is one little thing, but I mean the car chase. Hey, that was a very cool Dodge Challenger that they raced with, and it was really a sequence that. And the relationship between the two characters, much like again, and they didn't fall in love, but Trip and Malcolm, they bond a friendship. And here they bond this friendship when they were thrown together, which was very, very well done. I absolutely love it. And for us Star Trek Enterprise characters, does this make us start to wonder if Future Guy was a Romulan agent from the future that came back to try to disrupt things? Because you talk about the temporal war, Cold War. You talk about trying to disrupt or destroy the Federation. Was this, did this give credence to who that character was?
So can I actually air a complaint, a slight grievance with the episode based on your comment about temporal Cold War?
Okay.
So when she specifically says a cabal, it's a cabal of people. I thought surely it's going to be the Suliban, because the Suliban were always pawns of Future Guy, and their organization was the Suliban Cabal. So I thought, why not have them be Suliban? Why have them be Romulans all of a sudden? That's my only complaint.
But it seems like in the Enterprise, the Future Guy is never known who it is. You don't see a face. You don't even see an image of who it is. It was mysterious. So the question is, are there going to be a tie-in about that in the future? Will they have additional time travel episodes in the coming third season? We'll have to see.
I would hope they would address it, because they end the temporal Cold War by the time of Discover with like, we don't even time travel anymore. But I mean, if they could bring back Future Guy, I would support that, because that was always like kind of annoying that they just never explained it. And then the fact that he was so helpful,
And I will also say that I laughed all through Charades.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was so funny. I mean, just to see him having to act like a teenager.
It was so great.
It was so funny. And just when the whole sequence of him going, "What is this? Oh, it's bacon." And he ate a pound of it. So well done, so funny. It's really, I give this season credit for allowing to have enjoyable episodes besides very serious ones. And that's what.
So can I ask one question of concern?
Sure, please.
What about that lady who is now convicted of shoplifting? who is just hanging out like in tomorrow. She's just hanging out. She's at Root. She's having a good day. And then all of a sudden, Kirk puts the wallet in her and now she's a shoplifter. Like that's got to mess her up.
Leon did that, not Kirk.
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
maybe not,
It was just a distraction they needed to walk out the door.
But maybe she's they're probably, for the one little thing, they might, if this is a woman who's never had anything bad happen, everything, chances are it was probably an inconvenience in her day. Like maybe she but it's probably nothing more than that. Her life is not ruined over that.
I hope so. Good. I feel a lot better about that because I'm like, that's kind of stressful. Like, imagine her boss finds out about this. It's like, well, you were shoplifting. Somebody put it there. Like,
or just
who? People from the future.
You could possibly even say maybe it got knocked. That was a big bag she's carrying. Maybe it just knocked in. Like, again, if this is someone who's never done anything wrong in her life, or maybe she is actually
a criminal,
a criminal shoplifter, and Leon helped get her caught earlier than she would have been otherwise.
I like that too. That's good.
See,
That's
I'm here to solve your problems.
Thank you. That's 2 for 2 today.
Any other thoughts that you want to share about this season, except the fact that why does it have to be only 10 episodes? Why does it stop? Please make more episodes.
Yeah.
Can we chat about the Enterprise itself? Because this is the thing where I'm having to suspension of disbelief and recognize it's a TV show. You have to make it look good. But the fact that Kirk gets kind of a crappy version. He doesn't have a ready room, small quarters, just like general crampedness. And I just wonder, is there an in-universe explanation as to why this Enterprise looks so much nicer on the inside?
Okay,
or do we just go with the fact that this is a modern set? They want to make it look visually appealing.
I think you just have to do that.
Well, here's one thing. In this particular season, they mentioned that there's only 200 crew members on the Enterprise. And in Kirk's time, I believe he says there's 400.
Oh, yeah, 400.
I thought it was 5. I thought it was 5, but it could.
Okay.
Chris
I
might
think
know
it was
better.
definitely somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
For sure. So maybe that's a good explanation.
If you double the crew, during some time in the last 10 years, it may have been refitted, and that shrunk down the quarters to make room for an addition, twice the crew.
That's a perfectly reasonable explanation.
Okay.
I like that.
And again, the same thing. If you look at the nacelles, they're more like the NX-01 illuminated nacelles, and it has more of the metallic look to it than the NX-01. So it's almost like at some point they retrofitted it. They made it simpler, more concise because there wasn't as much room to work with.
Let's be honest, though.
Okay.
As if we haven't been all episodes.
I've been lying to you this whole
That's
time.
not what I'm implying.
Oh my gosh, Chris.
Do we really think that they will ever go back to what the original Enterprise looked like, or do we think?
No, of course
I don't.
not.
I
don't think so.
We talk about such things to explain away and help us with our imagination and how we view stuff and continuity because we care about such things as Star Trek fans. But I don't think, in actuality, they'll ever go back to that style.
I don't think so. I think
it's just not as. Honestly, that's what they had to do.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think the only way they could do it is if at the very end of the series, when they're like, we're not making any more, that's it. It ends with the old bridge. But that's like a 10-second, 2-minute shot. But I don't think it's worth doing because it's just, you have to understand, it's like we're trying to appeal to a modern audience, and modern audience is not going to believe that a spaceship in the future will look like 1960s Enterprise.
Yeah, a lot of modern audience might not ever go watch the original too.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have to, in defense of the other Star series, Wars. We watched Ahsoka.
I started that tonight. I'm halfway through episode 1.
But I'm not going to get. No, I'm not getting. But the fact that
for the sake of, hold on, Steve. For the sake of this episode, we are recording this on the 23rd of August.
Right.
For continuity's sake, for those of you wondering.
And for some reason, it was on last night because we watched it last night. But anyway, what I'm getting at is that through all the different series that they've had, they've maintained the same continuity of cheap sets that were established in A New Hope, and I give them credit for keeping that continuity of look. That look at the spacecraft, the interiors, the way they're done.
I think I don't like your choice of words, Steve. Cheap is not a good word.
Yeah.
Rough looking.
In 1976, when they were making
looking,
it. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was like these spaceships have been used. They've been through
right.
They've been through
but they've kept to the continuity. They've kept the look. And
that's also a big difference, real world difference between 1966 and 1977.
Right.
Like the leaps and bounds in the look and the styles of the time and what they were able to do has also like a world apart. That 10 years is a world apart too.
And that's why it's been so good that in the continuity of the prior series, TNG, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, they had that continuity of look that was established by Mike Okuda. Thank you very much, Mike, for doing that. And they kept it all the way through. It wasn't until Discovery that they decided to go a different direction. At least with JJ, we have an excuse. Different timeline. Can look different. But
we have an excuse here too. You can't take LCARS that started in like Next Generation-ish time or sometime after TOS and bring that back into Discovery time. You can't do that.
Yeah. No, you can't. You can't, but
so it's okay. So they.
But I've often wondered, though. I'm with Steve, where I've always been curious about like why is it that Star Wars is able to they don't have to change their look and it's fine.
It's because of again where they think about their starting point. Their starting point, Star Trek and Star Wars starting points were two different starting points. Okay, and then you had Star Wars started as just a couple movies, where you had Star Trek started as a series and then came back as a couple movies, but a series, and then different. Like you can't. I don't think it's fair to compare these.
But you can still say the same thing though, because like if you were to with the exception of, and this is a major Picard season 3 spoiler, which I'm sure is old news now, but like the way that the Enterprise worked was like it was cool because you could see the D, and it was for that 2-parter episode, and it was a one-time thing. You could not have, say, the Bridge of the Voyager as the main bridge for a new Star Trek series for new fans. So, but you could.
The Enterprise D doesn't really work for a modern audience, I think, either. It's worked for us because of the nostalgia.
Right. That's what I mean. So, but why can Star Wars? How is Star Wars able to? There's something about their technology.
I think it's because of where they started.
Lucas got freaking lucky. With how he did it originally, and it works now. It's more of a timeless feel when you beat stuff up and you make it look older and rougher around the edges.
And you don't have carpet.
It's just. I think.
Well, no, and I'm not joking about that. Think about our houses, like houses that basically have wood floors. The wood floor, 100 years, like in the sense of it looks fine in every era. Carpet gets old after a decade. Carpet does not look like it belongs.
Color choices change.
But is it also because Star Wars is in the past? It's meant to be like not the future, not like our future.
Yeah,
I don't think that's
so. Well, that's very definitive. Wow. Okay.
I just think,
stand corrected.
And maybe it's willing suspension of disbelief for me too. That's what they established in A New Hope, and so that's what they've kept on. I do want to mention, because we mentioned the Next Gen, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager. Part of those 3 series having a defining look that you knew was Star Trek, we cannot go another second without mentioning the great Herman Zimmerman, who was production designer for those 3 series and into the Next Gen films. The brilliant work he did throughout all those years helped keep the continuity.
And the people that worked with him and maintain that as well. Our good friend Doug and Mike and Denise, they were the keepers of the flame of these things. And now I'm going to say this without doubt. I love the look of this Enterprise.
Oh yes,
I think it is so cool. It is so they have all the elements they do from the original series,
and they kept the
updated.
Sounds.
Huh?
Yeah. Did you guys hear the peck? I call it the peck. But you know what I'm talking about with the Spock's? I got to listen to it again. Spock's science station.
No.
Like there was the peck,
like the little pings and like
pings.
Like all those like pings and noises in the background. Those are all that, and I think that really works pretty well.
And that's true. And again, I'm not disparaging it, and I don't mean to. I think it's beautiful. I think engineering is absolutely science fiction gorgeous. And and I like the fact that everything is well lit. That's one problem I have with Discovery. Everything was so dark. This is a well lit, bright, almost cheerful interior
definitely
of the hallways, the passageways, and they have their own bar where they have fun. And I think that's also really good. I mean, come on, that Chicago style routine in the bar with
Nurse Chapel.
It was absolutely gorgeous,
and
they had the room to work with it,
which I love.
Great.
I love that they had like smooth jazz, like space.
And by
jazz.
the way, I'm gonna, when we're done recording tonight, I'm gonna walk up the stairs and I'm gonna look at my wife and I'm gonna say, "You are science fiction gorgeous."
Yeah,
and see what she says.
Right.
See what she says.
She will probably say, "Go to sleep, Brian. You're hallucinating." Well,
tell me to rub her feet or something, more likely.
Let's finish by saying if there's anything else we wish to share. Otherwise, I will begin with the closing arguments.
One thing, just an apology to everybody from last week. We did not talk about Data and his relationship with the kid. Like we never.
We didn't.
Oh, yeah, that was so beautiful.
No, we should have brought that up.
That was father-son moment.
Yes,
that really was beautiful in Insurrection. That really was. Yeah,
it was all right.
It's all right. Okay, all right. All right, kids. Well, clearing my throat and saying, and with that, we come to the end of another thrilling mission of the Starship, the Big Sci-Fi Podcast. As always, this crew is so appreciative of being part of the Trek Geeks intergalactic network of podcasts. We are so proud to be a part of this fine organization. Please find it in all quadrants of the galaxy, coming soon to the Romulan Star Empire. As always, we are so grateful to our listeners, who are why we get together from all parts of the North American continent to have these fun and lively conversations. And if you can, please share with us your thoughts on this and any of our other episodes. And go to our email address of the Big Sci-Fi Podcast at gmail.com and post something there, or post something fun and interesting on our Facebook or Instagram page. We truly love what you have to say. Our prime directive is always to make sci-fi fun for all. So, as always, let me leave you with these closing words. Keep watching the skies. Live long and prosper.